Hello everyone, welcome back to the Fetch Quest podcast where we talk about video games and more. And today, we got a very special episode for all of you.
It's that time of the year again, everybody.
A time where we celebrate one of our favorite things ever, video games.
A time where we look back at what this year has given us in gaming.
And most importantly, a time where we choose our favorite games.
However, things are going to be a little different compared to last time around.
Yeah, this year we're changing things up a little.
For starters, we're going to be doing multiple categories instead of just one big category.
Stuff like best visuals and best story.
To even categories like best indie and best non-2024 games.
We'll also be having some shorter times with our speeches just so we can talk about more video games.
Yeah, we want to talk about as many games as possible, so we do love a lot of these games, but some of them may just get a little bit of a shorter shout out other than Game of the Year.
Yeah, we'll be keeping it to 1 minute for our non-Game of the Year categories.
But our Game of the Year category will be around 5 minutes.
I think that's all the rules out of the way, everybody.
Yeah. These categories will also be our pitches for these games and some of the games that we've played this year that we recommend to all of you.
Yeah, it's going to be a way to get you all in the audience, yes you, hooked up on some of our favorite games.
Yeah, on games that we just personally found to be great this year.
The categories will be what we are pitching the game to you on.
So if we recommend a game for best story,
then we will try and get you to play the game based off its story.
And the same goes for all the other categories.
And our Game of the Year will be a game that we think is just overall an amazing package.
Alright, now that we got all that boring, stupid housekeeping out of the way.
let's get this show started already.
Alright. Without a further ado, welcome to the 2024 Fetch Quest Podcast Game Awards. We'll be starting off with Best Story. Leading in, we have Connor with his nominee. Give us, Connor, your personal best story in video games in 2024.
Yeah, so the best story from a game I played this year would have to be Persona 3 Reload. It is just an amazing story overall that once it starts going, it never really stops. It has emotional gut punches and it just has a very powerful and resonant message that overall I just think is not even just one of the best stories of this year, probably one of the best stories I've ever experienced.
Awesome, Connor. I love Persona 3 as well, but there is a game I wanted to shout out just a little more because I think it's been underrated, and it is Emio the Smiling Man, Famicom Club Detective. Part of the reason I wanted to recommend this so much is because, for one, I love visual novels, but two, it just, unlike other mystery novels, it just has a much more grounded story that has a larger focus on the emotions of the characters. A lot of times when you're investigating the task in the story or the case, you'll have to get information out of people, and a lot of times you'll just have to talk to them just through their human side. Like, sometimes they'll hide information because they're worried about protecting someone that they love that they don't want to think could possibly be a suspect in the case. That, or because of some fears and traumas they have, are afraid of revealing some information, but eventually they learn to grow from that as people and to step up. So I can go into it a bit more later, but I want to nominate Emio the Smiling Man for Best Story for its amazing writing.
Hell yeah, man. That's what's up. I've heard a lot about Emio the Smiling Man, especially from you, and I'm very excited to play that game eventually. But I want to talk about what I see as the best story of 2024. And sharing the same opinion as Connor, it is Persona 3 Reload. As the remake to the original Persona 3, the biggest problem of the game was its gameplay, so they revamped all of it, but they kept the story the same. And I'm glad they did, because this story is something that I cannot believe how much I resonate with, and I others do too. I know a lot of people in here who have played it resonate with its message about you have to keep living on, and even though death is inevitable, it is something we all go through, and it's our connections with people that make us who we are, and it gives us our strength. I know, friendship is power is really fucking lame and really tropey. However, I think this is one of the best examples of it, and frankly, This game has made me ugly cry many times. I think it has fantastic characters, fantastic plot, fantastic gameplay. But if you want a mature story about people just trying to find their meaning in life and like what death means to them, I highly recommend Persona 3 Reload. It is fantastic.
Alright, I've heard a lot of great things from Persona 3 Reload from literally every person here, but I think Jay. My personal best story is a game, Silent Hill 2, the remake. I never played the original Silent Hill 2, but the story is very gripping for Silent Hill 2. It's very simple. You're a dude, her name is James, and you're looking for your dead wife, but she sent you a note, even though she's been dead, to go back to the place where it all began, which is Silent Hill. And this town is weird. It's got ambiance and like horrors, and you have no clue what's going on, but you're looking for your wife, and not even hell is going to stop you from getting it. And I think it's a very small, short story that is very convoluted, but in the best ways possible, and that's why I think it's the best story.
My personal best story of this year would have to be Space Marines 2. A game that I don't think anyone here has played, but a game that I very much enjoyed, especially the story. Going through, cutting down hordes of Xenos and heretics. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with the Warhammer 40k or any of the lore behind it.
I know it's really expansive.
We have many friends who are, let's just say, engrossed in Warhammer.
Yeah, this has been my first dive into Warhammer, and I've enjoyed so much of it. So very much. It is this amazing hack and slash third-person shooter. You run through these hordes of Xenos and heretics towards the end of the game. That's the kind of the best summary I can give for the story.
No, that's fine. That's fine, man. There's a beauty in simplicity, especially in storytelling. That of course is a thing, and that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, but I think what adds to a lot of these stories is gameplay, which leads us into our next category, best gameplay. Pretty straightforward award. What is game we think had the best hands-on gameplay? Starting this award off for us is going to be Connor.
Yeah, so for best gameplay, I am going to be choosing Astrobot. I'll try to keep this brief because we do have an entire episode on Astrobot, but the gameplay in this game is probably some of the best I've ever played just in general. It is fluid, it's smooth, it's responsive, it makes me immersed in the game, especially with all the sound design. And overall, like, I mean, it's just so much fun to play, like, and the Team Asobi knew that because they made a bunch of speedrun levels after the game came out, just so people would have more stuff to play. And I mean, the gameplay is just like, it honestly probably is the best part of the game. Like as I said, it's just so fluid and responsive. It really does just scream like love and care was put into this. But yeah, that I personally just think Team Asobi knocked it out of the park with Astrobot and its gameplay, and that's why I'm nominating it for best gameplay.
All right, man, that's fantastic. I almost always love Astrobot in here, so man, what a game. But I think the game I want to mention next is a little bit of a different take on the Zelda series. The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. This game was a little different as instead of playing Link, you play Zelda, and Zelda doesn't really use a sword. Well, she does sometimes, but instead of the hands-on sword combat and items that you usually see in Zelda games, you have echoes instead, which is why I want to nominate it for best gameplay, because you kind of tackle this Zelda adventure in your own way, using different enemies, solving puzzles with different methods, using different blocks maybe. You just have a lot of control of your gameplay, sort of like Tears of the Kingdom, but now with a top-down Zelda game. And that's why I want to nominate it for best gameplay. It just did a lot to improve 2D Zelda. I think it could have done a lot more in some areas, but I think it was a really good step in the right direction, and it was a very fresh take on top-down Zelda as well that I love to see.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And in terms of gameplay, I've been playing this game a lot recently, and I'm very glad I get to talk about it today. Rivals of Aether 2 is my personal pick for the best gameplay of 2024. It is a, how do I put this? It is a Smash clone, but all in the right ways. What makes Rivals 2 different from Smash is that it has a focus on making the game competitive. They add a lot of aspects from Melee and other platform fighters to make the game feel as competitive as possible, but it also feels very smooth and non-janky to play. One thing that I love Smash Bros. For, but I hate every time I play it, is how janky it can feel sometimes. Just frankly with like the buffering system and a lot of some of the errors and oversights I want to say with the game. Rivals of Aether 2 is just a very polished version of Smash Ultimate that I feel like can appeal to a lot of people who maybe want to get into competitive Smash or just aren't interested in other platform fighters. It's very smooth to play. I love playing with friends, and I always have a good time with it. So that's my personal pick of gameplay in 2024. Please play it. It is an indie game that is like $30 and goes on sale often.
Helldivers 2 took the world by storm, and for good reason. This game had some of the most like fleshed out gameplay of all time. You drop into a map, you with your guns, you have a bunch of different stratagems where you would like push buttons on your controller like a fucking fighting game combo, and then just blow stuff up, and it was so much simple fun. There was so much stuff you could do. There were bombs, there were fire strikes, there were gas bombs, like electric storms, turrets, like you could get like a flamethrower. There's so many like guns and weapons you could use that like if you wanted to, no two games would feel the same because of all the different things going into each other, and it all meshed into a beautiful game where it was just so much fun no matter who you played it with, and that's why it's my favorite gameplay this year.
At one point we all killed our entire team with cluster bombs.
It happened to every one of us.
Yeah,
sometimes on accident, sometimes on purpose.
Yeah, guy.
Shout out to our Helldivers 2 episode. If you want to learn more context about that story, go watch that there. Holy shit, that's funny.
Yeah. That leaves me. And going back to it, Space Marines 2 for the best gameplay.
Oh yeah, man, 2 for 2.
I absolutely love the gameplay. There's one side I'm going to be talking about. There's the PvP and the PvE. I'm going to be talking about the PvE side of it. So with the PvE, there is 5 different classes that you can pick from. You got the Assault, you got the Tactical, you got the Bulwark, you got the Heavy, you got the Sniper, 6, my bad, Vanguard, and you also got the Vanguard. And every single one of those has their own perk tree. You play the game, you progress, you level up, and you perk out your perk tree. Like everyone has played a game probably at some point where there's a perk tree and you have specific builds you go into to make the gameplay like just make your character more effective through the combat. And you have 7 different levels. There was just 6 at the beginning at the launch of the game, but there's 7 now, and you run through. There's higher difficulties, you get better gear as you run through and get the armory data and you upgrade your gear, and it is one of the best gameplay loops I've ever experienced, and it's a lot of fun, especially with friends. But that would conclude my personal nominee for Space Marine 2 for best gameplay.
That's awesome, man. It seems like it has a really fun gameplay loop in terms of like constantly making progress to getting better and better loot so they can go on harder and harder difficulties. But
oh yeah,
what makes gameplay flashy? Visuals, baby. We're going into visuals next. Connor, take us away.
Yeah, so I do want to preface, I am not pulling a Jeff Keighley here, but I will be nominating Shadow of the Erdtree for best visuals. Now, I am aware that this
it's a DLC, it's not a game.
Yeah,
How
it is a
dare you.
DLC. And I am prefacing that this is a DLC, so but it's a really good looking DLC. It's the people at FromSoft are really good at making fictional worlds look great, and from the skybox combined with the Halik tree to the bright blue cerulean coast, to just the peaks of Dragon Mountain. I can't remember what the actual name is. But like every environment, every location, every boss, every effect in this game is just looks absolutely stunning and beautiful. It honestly is like one of the best looking games, I'd say, not even just for this year, just ever. And that is just why I decided to nominate it. I think it looks absolutely stunning and beautiful at every moment.
All right, man. I will say with Shadow of the Erdtree, well, I don't. Well, we are not nominating a DLC for Game of the Year. Any individual category we feel is fine, just because we're looking at an individual aspect of the game, not a whole game as
Yeah.
Game of the Year is.
Yeah.
So that's why we're letting Shadow of the Erdtree be in there, because we can look at the individual visuals that were done in the DLC.
Fuck you.
But with that out of the way, I'm going to go into my pick, which is Persona 3 Reload. Now, Persona 3 for the PS2 wasn't the worst looking game, but it has aged a bit, and Persona 3 Reload brought in a new, fresh coat of paint, and man, is it pretty. First, I gotta mention the UI. Like, Persona 5 blew us away with its UI, and Persona 3 did exactly the same, because it is absolutely stunning, and it just gets me really invested. Like, whenever I'm managing items, I enjoy it just because of how pretty everything looks. And it just makes each of your choices feel so much more impactful too, quick and snappy. And the rest of the visuals as well look amazing. The character models look great, the animations on them as well. And then when you do an all-out attack, the artwork looks fantastic as well, and an art direction as well for a lot of the bosses as well, especially some at the end. I really loved it. It is a great looking game. It gave Persona 3 the makeover it very much needed for how old it is. And that is why I'm wanting to nominate it for best visuals. It just did everything right in the visuals department, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, that's what's up, man. Persona 3, definitely they have mastered what it takes to like create visually stunning games, and I can't wait to see more from their games. We have Metaphor, which is already stunning with its visuals as well. If I beat the game, I'd probably put it on my visuals. Haven't beaten it yet, sorry. But
Skill issue.
that goes into my visual nominee, and that is Astrobot. Oh my fucking god, this game looks amazing. Where do I even begin? Astrobot is the first game that I've played that I think fully utilizes what the PS5 is capable of. There are hundreds of different little jewels and stones and whatnot that each have their own physics system. The particles in the game look fantastic, and the game just consistently runs at 60 frames per second with not a singular frame dropped throughout my entire playthrough. This game is what next-gen graphics is all about, and I feel like that Astrobot should deserve this visual overload, because not only does it make everything satisfying in terms of like movement, but also when you're discovering new areas and there's always something visually new. It's never static, and that is something I must give Astrobot credit for, because they always are giving you new stuff to feed new stuff to feed you with. However, that also applies with the visuals in terms of what they try to accomplish. Astrobot is a technical marvel, and I have to give it my nominee for that reason. It is fantastic.
Alright, although I haven't beaten this game, I think that from what I've seen, it is one of the most visually stunning games, period, and that is Black Myth Wukong, and it has to do with the taking of the Chinese culture and mythology and putting it into a video game. You have all of these like Buddhist statues and like scenery, all of this like architecture from like Chinese culture, and it all culminates in like very, very beautiful landscapes. The Destined one, which is the main character, has a bunch of different armor sets that all are like super intricate. They put a bunch of detail into every single aspect of the armor. The movement of the game flows really well. Like there's a fight against like a mythological Chinese dragon, and the Chinese dragon looks so like moves fluidly, looks really cool. I've shown Guy the fight because I thought it was like one of the coolest things. You're finding it on top of a frozen lake while it shoots lightning at you, and like it's kind of like Kratos and Thor in God of War Ragnarok. It's awesome. Anyways, that's my nomination.
Hell yeah.
All right. And that would leave me. So my nomination, 3 for 3, Space Marine 2 for best visuals.
Oh my god.
Bro's
I
got
know, it's crazy.
Bro's playing
surprise.
Bellotro with this 3 of a kind right now.
Oh my
I
god.
know.
I can't wait till he gets a royal flush. Oh my god.
It's gonna be crazy.
He's gonna be the
Put him
first
on
man
wood.
to get a 6 of a kind and a 7 of a kind.
That's exactly. He's gonna break the
I'm
game.
working on it. Let me cook.
Let me
But as you
tell
were saying, Jay, as you were saying,
But for best visuals, Space Marines 2, from the cinematics to the gameplay to the customizations of your own personal Space Marine, all of it is just extremely well done. The graphics of the game are phenomenal. Just walking through the base area, the hub that you would call it, going off like Monster Hunter terms, the launch bay, just so cinematic. You walk around, you can see like ships landing, you can see the, I forget what they're called, the engineer guys, but they're going around, they're working on things as you're walking around. You can customize your, like, the armor on your Space Marine looks damaged from like combat and everything. You can unlock better gear as you go on, as you move on. But one of the things that really sold the visuals for me is a scene in the story where you're literally flying through space avoiding debris. It is one of the most cinematic things I've done in gaming. It was so much fun to do and so visually stunning. But that's just the tip of the iceberg for the Space Marine 2 visuals, because there's so much more, but we do not have a lot of time to talk about it. So
no, that's awesome, man. Like I've also seen like a lot with that game in terms of like its visuals. I've seen my friend Tyler, he streamed it for me. The amount of shit on screen at once that looks good with like high polygons and like with the models and shit like that, very impressive, very technically impressive. And
That's also
Yeah.
through like Discord, Discord quality probably bringing it down. It still looks really good.
yeah,
exactly.
The graphics of this game are absolutely amazing.
But honestly, one thing that also just tickles my fancy in terms of like making me feel good, best audio. Take it away, Connor. Sorry, best music. Best music. Sorry, audio and music are very different. Best music tickles my fancy. Connor, take us away.
Yeah, so me personally, as I said, music is something that tickles my fancy, and it's one of the most important things I look for in a game, if I'm being honest. Well, like, I'm not actively searching for it, but like, if it's got a good soundtrack, the big bonus points. And a game that I played this year that I think has an incredible soundtrack is Shadow Generations. This is a remaster of Sonic Generations with a really big added shadow story. Um and so so that means you're already going to be getting good music, because every single track is a remix of a beloved song from the past of Sonic Pass. You've got remixes of all the levels that all sound even better than their original ones. Special like shoutouts are like Sunset Heights from Sonic Forces and Kingdom Valley from Sonic 06. Yeah, it's crazy that two of the worst games in Sonic have two of the best tracks in this game. Um, and also just like an incredible remix of All Hail Shadow for one of the big fights. It's just an overall, I think it just has such a great soundtrack, and I honestly think that if you're looking for a good like soundtrack just to listen to, Shadow Generations is honestly like pretty up there. It's really good.
All right, man. Now, I want to lead into another series we're all probably familiar with, and I once again am nominating The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom for its fantastic soundtrack. Zelda soundtracks are always known to be a banger, and this one did not disappoint as well. I love its use of instruments and just its orchestra as well. Its symphony. It's like the flute, oboe, the bassoon, French horn, trumpet, its harp, and piano. along with many other instruments, just made for a very strong soundtrack with a lot of variety. And then they also brought a lot of new life into a lot of older Zelda tracks. They didn't just stick with the same ones. They tried to add new energy into it to match Zelda as protagonist instead of just following Link. And then the new themes as well for a lot of the bosses and dungeons were absolutely fantastic to listen to. I would absolutely always recommend any Zelda soundtrack, and this one's no different. And that is why I want to nominate The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom for our best music category.
Beautiful, man, beautiful. We're gonna sound like a broken record on this one. I'm nominating Persona 3 Reload for best music. I feel like I'm cheating a little bit on this one because it technically is new music because all of the score for the whole game was remade, but they were based off original songs of the original Persona 3 and Persona 3 Fez. However, that does not detract from the fact that the soundtrack of Persona 3 Reload is such a fucking banger. When you have a game that makes me swing my head in joy and whimsy over doing fucking schoolwork in a video game, you know you've done something right. I think that the battle themes are phenomenal in Persona 3 Reload. I listen to Persona 3 Reload music every single day. Like hell, the final boss theme, I listen to it daily. It's become a problem. But that I listen to the school theme. There's never a point in Persona 3 Reload where I'm not satisfied by the music. It always has music that fits the tone of the story or what you're doing in gameplay, and I just gotta nominate it for just making me feel good, making me feel sad. It's made me feel every emotion possible while playing a video game, and it elevates the story it's trying to tell and the gameplay to a level that is just something indescribable that you have to play yourself to find out what I'm talking about because it is peak
Oh,
perfection.
that, and also, it's going down now. It's fucking amazing.
It's so
Yeah.
good.
It's such a
It's so
catchy
good.
theme.
I also don't even have to go into how incredible the final boss theme is. Like, one of the best final boss themes I've ever heard.
Oh
And
yeah.
speaking of great boss themes, I'm picking Shadow of the Erd Tree. I know another broken record, but the boss themes in Shadow of the Erd Tree are my favorite in honestly all of Souls games. Like the Dancing Lion, Divine Beast Dancing Lion theme is my personal favorite from Soft song. Like I absolutely adore it, but every single boss theme, world theme as you're just like roaming around the Shadowlands is just so beautiful. Like the Divine Beast, Mesmer. So many of the bosses just have like the most epic orchestral themes that just really get your blood pumping, and it just is so good. And that's why it's my favorite.
That'll leave me. So, best music that I've found recently I've been playing a lot of has been Helldivers. So, Helldivers, okay. It really gets you in that cinematic feel for when when you're dropping in, you're gearing up. There's that little just theme in the background that just makes you just hype you up, especially when you're dropping in and you land and you come out of your drop pod and you're just looking around, you get ready to go to the objective. It just gets you ready, gets you in that mood.
It really gives you that masculine urge to sacrifice everything for your loved ones and your country and die in a blaze of glory.
The exaggerated
does.
swagger of a super soldier.
Yeah. Exaggerated swag. That's a good one.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, no,
besides
I'm with you
that,
on that. Like,
I'm-
yeah, you go.
No, you're good. I don't really have much to say about it. Just the drop in, just coming out, you feel like you're about to fight off the army and get absolutely destroyed. Damn, is that game hard?
No, I don't blame you, man. One thing that the Helldivers 2 music does perfectly is setting tone. And tone is just something that I feel like it makes that game what it is. Not entirely, but it helps like get you involved in being a Helldiver. But we'll move on from there in best music. This is probably a category where a lot of good music this year has come from, and that's going to be best indie. Connor, take us away with your best indie.
My best indie is probably going to go to I think something that everyone has played now is that game being Balatro. It's Balatro was it sort of became, at least for our group, kind of became an overnight hit. Once it got nominated for the basically a crap ton of stuff at the actual Game Awards, and we all started playing it, and thank goodness we did, because this is one of the most addictive and honestly just well done indies I've played in a while. The art style, the music, the gameplay especially, all are just, everything flows and connects so smoothly, and um it's just so incredible that, like, I think one person, or at least a small group of people made this game, because everything is just so perfectly, like, every piece of the puzzle fits together perfectly. Like, I am seriously impressed at this game and how great it is.
Alrighty. Now with me, I'm gonna talk about another game that where you, let's just say, gamble with your odds. So instead of poker chips, this one you gamble more a little with your life. My best indie is going to be Buckshot Roulette, a very simple game, but it's also very addictive as well. Because basically, you have a shotgun, you either take a shot at the guy in front of you, or you take a shot at yourself to see if it'll be a blank, and you try to get through those rounds to rake in as much money as possible. You have a lot of items as well to make it easier to get through the rounds, that or to take some risk as well. So you have a knife that can double the damage you do. You have a magnifying glass that you could combine with that to like look in as well. And part of the reason I want to nominate this as well is because like it's also just gotten a lot of support. Like later this year after it released, it got a multiplayer update, which any online multiplayer update is usually always insane for me to see from an indie studio, because that's just very hard to pull off for just a couple of people or a smaller team. So for the support it got, and that, and also just the nice unique gameplay loop it had that was very addictive, I want to nominate it for best indie.
Yeah, I would love for us to do a group
Oh yeah,
Buckshot Roulette.
it'd be a lot of fun, because again, with these indie games, like, dude, you're never gonna see a friggin' AAA company make a game about gambling your life with a shotgun, playing Russian roulette with one.
Yeah, no, I've seen great things about Buckshot. I would love to play that with you guys.
I played a little bit of it, and I had such a great time with it. It just sucks I don't have a PC to actually play it on.
Yeah, it's a great time. Everyone, you should take a shot at playing it. It's only like $3, so you can't go wrong with it if you have the means to play it.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah, man. That's what's up. That's what's up. Again, we are a broken record on here. We don't play shit. Best indie game for me is Balatro. Like Connor said, this was an overnight hit. I have to give shoutouts to my friend Ryan for really showing me what this game was all about. He convinced me. He's been on the podcast before. Shoutouts Ryan. He really showed me like what this game was, and it got me interested. And $10 on phone, okay, fine, let's do it. It's an indie studio. I'll be supporting them. We'll do it. Yada yada. See what it's all about. It wasn't even 30 minutes in of playing when I said to myself, I understand it now.
Danny DeVito moment.
I understand it now. It's got me addicted.
I understand it now. It got me addicted, man.
God.
I get it. And I have to give the developers props. They made poker, like, it's a relatively simple game. Try to get the best hand out of anyone in the group, collect the chips, earn your money. They made it into such an intriguing, time-investing, thought-provoking roguelike that just keeps me coming back over and over again with its challenge runs, its deck modifiers, its I don't know, its uniqueness. It's a game that I can just pick up and play no matter what I'm doing throughout the day and have a fun time with. And I gotta give it to Balatro. They really knocked it out of the park with what they were trying to accomplish. And to you Balatro fans and Balatro devs, I salute you. Keep playing.
Thank you, Balatro.
Keep gambling. Keep gambling.
Yeah,
Gamble
that's what
I
I
till
was
just
your
about
can't
to
life
stop
say.
winning.
I can't stop winning.
All three of our choices have been gambling so far.
We love
Well,
gambling.
boy.
Gambling
Except-
is the best thing ever. Like, never, always gamble. Always gamble. It doesn't matter if you go negative. Always gamble.
90% of
I understand why people
gamblers
get addicted to it.
lose before they win big.
Worried about going negative? Just use the credit card joker. It'll be fine.
Yeah, go $20 into debt. It just means you'll win more.
No, literally.
You're not going into debt. You're setting yourself up for a better round in the future.
Exactly.
Just how Liam is setting us up for our next indie pick.
Thanks, Brewer. Yes, my indie pick is, well, we've already talked about it a bit, but Rivals of Aether 2. This was one of
It's
the
not
games-
gambling.
I know it's not gambling. But it has been a game I have already put. It's only been out for about a month now, and I've already put 30 hours into it. And the little free time I have as a college student, and I have had so much fun with it. I have basically only played one of the characters too. There's a lot of characters, but the game has been so tight, so good. It has amazing movement, amazing like fluidity, and every character is like handcrafted to be good. There's not a single character that is poorly designed. They all have nuance and charm, and like if the Nintendo IP was not slapped onto Smash Bros, I would put it above Smash Bros, but you can't beat Mario in a fighting game. So that's why it's my best indie game of the year.
You can. You just have to have a positive matchup.
Yeah.
So true.
And for me, I unfortunately do not play a lot of games, but so I don't have an indie game nominee. But I would say Balatro, an amazing game. If you guys haven't played it yet, play it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Jay hasn't gotten his lucky run yet where he's won, but he has played Balatro. So
He understands
basically,
peak.
we're
He
4 for
understands peak.
5
That's all that
in
matters.
gambling.
Yeah. Gamble, kids, is what we're saying. No, don't do it.
No.
Okay.
you
Well,
gamble.
maybe instead of gambling, let's look at some safe choices. We're gonna go into a category for games that, you know, like Jay was saying, we haven't played a lot of games, and that's just because we have very busy schedules. And there's so many damn games that release in a year. Like, there's millions of games. It's so hard to keep up with them. So, unfortunately, some games may slip through the radars from the past years. So, this is our category of best non-2024 game. This is a game that we played in 2024, but did not come out in 2024. But we still want to shout it out for how amazing of an experience it was, how it touched us, how we love this gameplay, just any aspect of it that we wanted to shout out. So, with that being said, I'm gonna leave this to Connor to give his first award.
Yeah. And this is going to my favorite and what I think the best non-2024 game I played this year would be Link Between Worlds for the 3DS.
That's oh my god, that's crazy considering Echoes of Wisdom has gotten some awards from us.
Yeah.
And Link Between Worlds was the last like mainline 2D Zelda game we've
It's
had.
all it goes full circle. It's like Ouroboros.
Unless you count the Link's Awakening remake.
I'm talking about kind of just like new games.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
There's also Triforce Heroes, but I'm talking about like mainline new games, you know.
Yeah. But back to what I was saying. This game, I had gone in with like, pretty high expectations. I had heard of Link Between Worlds before, but like it's not one of those games that people talk about like Twilight Princess or, you know, Wind Waker, you know, the big ones. And so, but then I played it and I was like, oh my god, this is one of the best Zelda games I've ever played, period. It is my third favorite Zelda game, barely not beating out Breath of the Wild and Majora's Mask for my top 1 and top 2. Everything in this game just works. The gameplay, the music, the visuals, the gimmick of the game is so cool. Like a big gimmick of the game is the fact that you can rent items. You like your dungeon items, you don't get them from the dungeon, you rent them from a shop that is in the middle of the map. And it's such a cool like thing because you can rent them and play risky because if you die you lose them, or you can save up and buy them and keep them forever. And it's such a cool like gameplay thing. and just everything about this game works. Like everything. And I really hope we do a video on it, because that I would. Oh my god, I would have like a live goon session.
Hunter live goon session.
Okay. Well, let's get into a game I am going to absolutely gas the fuck out of. It's Amori, a game that you've probably heard about before, and I think it's well deserved for, because it is now one of my favorite games. I think it is an absolute masterpiece, 10 out of 10. Amori has an amazingly colorful but also dark visuals that add great contrast to each other, as a fantastic and heart-stringing soundtrack that brings an amazing sense of life and energy to Mori's most heart-throbbing moments. And lastly, the thing that I love about it the most, well, other than its gameplay as well, turn-based RPGs, I love them. What can I say? Lastly, its story was just absolutely amazing. For the rough year that I've had, Amori's story very much just touched me on a personal level. Its commentary, and I will preface this with, like, not all this applies to me, obviously, but its commentary on mental health, along with themes of depression, guilt, anxiety, PTSD, and most importantly, just learning to love and forgive yourself, just absolutely blew me away. I grew to love all the characters and even cry for them for what they went through and their growth, and just the absolutely beautiful ending. Especially for the main character, Sunny, that while they are their own character, they are also designed to make you reflect on yourself as a person and question if you can find it in yourself to just truly love yourself and forgive yourself for the human mistakes you make. I can say a lot in this game, and I will do a full episode on it in the future, but for all the reasons I've listed, I want to nominate it for my best non-2024 game. I cannot recommend it enough. Please play it.
Hell yeah, man, that's what's up. I've heard a lot about Mori, and I'm really glad that you got to play it this year. I am very excited to play Mori when I eventually do get to it. But I also love JRPGs. Yay!
Let's go,
And
turn-based
the one that-
RPGs.
Let's go! The one that I will be nominating today is I'm gonna get fucking roasted on a steak for this. Pokemon Black. It is the only game in the series besides its sequels that I have not played. Yeah, I know. Get your pitchforks. You're not a real
It's fair.
Pokemon fan. Gen 5 is the best gen. What's wrong with you?
I mean, to be
I
fair,
understand it now.
yeah, it's also honestly fair because of have you seen the scalped prices?
Yeah, they're terrible.
$100, over $100.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
dude, Pokemon games are fucking
Yeah.
expensive. Black 2 and White 2 go up to like $150 to $200
It's
a lot of
insane.
times.
Wait, you mean to tell me I got gold sitting in my game
Yes.
collection right now?
Dude, I have gold as well. I have multiple copies of Black and White and Black 2 and White 2. That's how Guy was able to play. So I've always told Guy, if he loses any of those games, he owes me a lot of money. I'm gonna be a damn loan shark. I'm gonna collect interest on it too.
So the TLDR for me not playing the game, fuck off, they're expensive. So,
Nintendo, please re-release the games instead of making bad
Please.
remakes like Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl.
but getting into Pokemon Black, I grew up on Pokemon, and I will say that it is one of my favorite video game series. It's top 3 minimum. I don't think it's going to be topping the Soul series anytime soon. But growing up, it was like my number 1, and it was those were the things that like got me into video games. And because of that, I grew up also with the series going into its decline with the 3D era, with Pokemon, starting with Pokemon X and Y, which are great games in my opinion, but like now we're in the state that we are with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Like we were very much in the lowest part of mainline Pokemon, and it's fucking crazy to me the stark quality difference between Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and Pokemon Black and White. I played Pokemon Black first time this year, and I thought that I wasn't going to enjoy it as much because I'm not its target audience, like 10-year-old children. What I got was an RPG about what it means to have truths and ideals in your world, what happiness means to people, how can we all fit and acknowledge each other's differences, a story about diversity and triumphing living in triumph. about knowing how living with difference is how we should live, and how living together in unity is how we grow as people. I got a deep story about a man trying to create a world, but who has been gaslit and manipulated to think that the world that he is trying to strive for is something that is good when it's not. I cannot believe how good the writing is in Pokemon Black and White. Again, Pokemon stories, not even that good. I'm gonna be real, they mostly dog ass. But the story that was presented in Pokemon Black, holy shit! What we had, guys, it's like that clip from Rick and Morty when Morty steps on the stone that's like perfectly flat, and he was taken away from it. He starts crying because he gets trauma from it.
Oh
That's
yeah, the
me.
perfectly level space.
Yeah, the perfectly level space. That is me with Pokemon. What we had was so good. Bring me back.
No, it's
Oh
like the
my
wine
god.
of Dionysus. Once you have the taste of like the finest wine, you can never go back.
Guys, I'm in my piece here, but the TLDR is play Pokemon Black and White if you can on emulator. I cannot is the best Pokemon game,
The thing with
bar none.
Pokemon Black is that they cooked so hard, they used all the ingredients, and so that's why we don't have anything as good as it now.
Yeah. It's cooking so hard that like I'm actually playing it right now. Like I'm actually shiny hunting for a Shelmet right now.
Live shiny Shelmet reaction.
Yeah, which if I do get a shiny while we're recording, I will pop the fuck off.
But yeah, sorry for my little rant there. I'm very passionate about Pokemon Black.
You're good. But let's get into a game I think that we're all passionate about. And
Yes.
let's let Liam rant.
Let's let me rant a bit. Speaking of JRPGs, speaking of a guy who thinks he's making a better world, we're talking about Persona 5 Royal. God damn. I have been hearing stuff about this game ever since Joker got released for Smash. I have wanted to play this game, and I've just never gotten around to it. And goddamn, am I glad that I eventually played it, because it is top 3 video games of all time. I could go on and on about how the story of this game is great. The characters are really well made, especially one. I won't say who it is, but you know who I'm talking about.
I know.
My goat. How the gameplay is, it's repetitive, but it's great, and the soundtrack is a banger, and no misses, only bangers. Every single song is amazing, and I like this game. I could talk about for hours, but I won't, because but man, 120 hours of straight peak, and like every aspect of that game just makes me goon. Anyways, that's it.
Love it. So, now I kind of feel like I'm kind of feel like I'm the same boat as Guy, but not as bad. But a game that I put on the back burner for so long, especially after hearing all the glazing that I kept getting, was Baldur's Gate 3, and
Oh
I
my God,
finally
yes.
played it, and I love it. It is an amazing game. It's such a long game, but so I've just been slowly just going at it and just playing it as I get a chance to. But oh my, where do I even
Tell us
start?
about it, man.
There's so
Yeah, dude,
much.
It is a big ass
feel
game.
Yeah, I feel like one of my favorite parts about it, if I had to pick, is just the freedom the player gets to do whatever they want in the story, how you build your character, the decisions you make, how it affects the story, the world, everything around you is affected by how you choose to play and how you choose to act in the world. And that is I just love it. And Baldur's Gate 3 just set a new standard for just games like that. Just set a new standard, and I don't think anyone's going to come close to it for a while. Is that game, oh my. I feel like Guy's a little more qualified to talk about it than me, but oh my.
Dude, I don't blame you. That game, oh my god. I also beat it this year because if y'all remember from our last Game Awards, yeah, It's kind of hard to beat a game of that size. It took me 142 hours. It won Game of the Year last year. It's phenomenal. It's peak fiction. Wrap it up. It's beautiful.
Oh man, yeah. I think though, let's talk about adding to peak fiction because our next category is going to be best DLC slash expansion, a category
Fuck you,
that
Jeff
focuses,
Keighley.
yeah, a category that focuses on what's been added to games that are already stand on their own to make them even better, and primarily just maybe new characters, maybe a new story, maybe new campaign. Be covering all this in this category. And to start us off again, it's going to be Connor.
Yeah. So I'm gonna once again guess up Shadow Generations. This is a it, as much as I love it, it is kind of just a remaster with so it is basically just an expanded re-release that has a whole new campaign. And that campaign is amazing. It is a great sort of look at Shadow and his character. It analyzes, it pays tribute to what came before and offers a really good story of what he, has gone through. And it's honestly just a really good like starting point if you want to get to know who Shadow is. I think that's like a very big point of this sort of expansion is to reintroduce Shadow as a character in order for him to get more like of a spotlight. And I just love this DLC a lot because of that, or not DLC, this
Add
campaign a
on.
lot because of that. And besides just like level design and everything like that, but trust me, I'll talk about it in the future soon. So I'll go more into that there, but yeah, this is really good expansion.
Oh, man. All right. Well, I'm going to go into my expansion next. My nominee for best DLC slash expansion is Splatoon 3's Side Order DLC. Similar to Splatoon 2 that had its Octo expansion, Splatoon 3 also had another expansion, this time for actually a roguelike mode. And I'm just gonna say I love Splatoon 3 as we've discussed in our Splatoon 3 video, and I especially love Splatoon campaigns. And this one is no different, but now it's changed up a little. Now you have a different bunch of floors and a spotter of order where you need to join forces with Pearl, Marina, and Oct to get through floors. You get different power ups through each floor, similar to other roguelikes. And Splatoon's gameplay already has a very solid base. So adding on to that with just like challenges you have to face that change up every floor, and getting to customize the way that you move around as well, what your ink does, and your drone as well. It just made for overall a very pleasant experience. And then also just more Splatoon campaign. Like, I always loved the characters writing. It was great to see Pearl and Marina again, and they were just absolutely fantastic characters. The only thing I will criticize is just I wish there was more like to chew on, like more variation in the roguelikes, more story of Pearl and Marina, and especially like Oct as well, because there's a lot of potential there. I feel like they missed out on it some, but it was still great nonetheless. Another great Splatoon expansion. So that's why I want to nominate it for my best DLC slash expansion of the year.
Put it on the freaking pass thing, Nintendo. You've done it for Octo expansion, do it for Side Order.
Yeah, I will say it is a little overpriced, but hey, it's great overall. I love Splatoon. Also, Pearl Marina are amazing. I love them.
They gay as hell.
Yeah, they are gay as hell. They not beating the gay allegations after this DLC.
These bitches gay. Good for
Good
them.
for them.
Oh my god, that's amazing. I haven't played Side Order yet, which is crazy because I love Splatoon 3 a lot, but I will be getting onto that soon. For my favorite DLC of this year, I would have to give it to Balatro crossover cards. They gave us Among Us Jokers, and I
Among
love
Us!
that.
Among Us! Among Us!
Among Us, Among Us, Among Us. Okay, jokes aside, they did actually do that, by the way. There's collaborations with Balatro. You have Cyberpunk and Among Us, Dave the
Witcher
Diver.
3
More
and
stuff is coming
Stardew
soon.
Valley.
I
Stardew
saw that.
Valley,
I saw
there's more
that.
stuff coming soon. But if I were to give it to what, like, I think really deserves it, uh, Shadow of the Erdtree. It's so phenomenal. Shadow of the Erdtree is one of the best DLCs I've ever experienced in a video game. Take Elden Ring, a game that is already like near perfect in terms of like what it's trying to do with its execution, and just add more to it. Not only just add more, but make it the best content of the game. FromSoft gave this DLC so much time in the oven, and they knew exactly what they're doing. I will admit it's not the best in terms of like some of their boss design, but in terms of like the exploration, the lore, the new weapons you get, and the gameplay, overall, it just creates a package that just it's something you can't it's something that will never be recreated unless it has that FromSoft seal of approval on it. And that's why I gotta give it to Shadow of the Erdtree for best DLC. It made Elden Ring even better.
which is crazy.
It is
Yes.
crazy.
And speaking of making something better, I don't know if any of you guys have played the game Remnant 2.
Nope.
Great game. It's kind of like a Souls-like, but with guns. It's very good. Don't get me wrong.
It's
And
on my
this,
radar. I haven't played it yet. It's on my
yes, I
radar.
played the entire game with my best buddy Hunter. Goated game, love it so much. It's had 3 DLCs, and this was the third and final one. And with this DLC, they added a bunch of new content into the base game, which has made it like a complete package. There's now a boss rush mode, so if you just want to fight bosses and do all this fun stuff, you can. You can just do the fights and not have to go through like the exploration, even though the exploration is great. And in terms of the actual Dark Horizon DLC, it added a new class called the Warden, which his entire thing is about making little drones that will help you fight. A bunch of new weapons, like there's this really sick one which is a saw blade or like a chainsaw, and it is something that you can like you rev up and then it will go and like fly between people, and it's the final boss. I won't spoil it, but it's really really cool, and that's what I have to say about it.
All right, Jay.
Um, I haven't played a lot of DLCs this year. The only DLC that I have played through and beaten, I guess, I bet you couldn't have guessed it, but Shadow of the Erdtree.
Oh
That's
my
actually enough.
god.
Podcast it up.
I know, but Shadow of the Erdtree, like Guy said, just made Elden Ring an already a fabulous game, one of my favorites ever, and just made it even better. I absolutely love the bosses that they added into Shadow of the Erdtree, especially the soundtracks. As what was it Liam talked about earlier, right?
Yep.
That's true.
The soundtracks were phenomenal. The scenery, everything about it was amazing, and I would recommend it to anybody, and especially if you like getting beat down until you finally get good,
True.
because it is a very hard DLC. Yeah, very hard, but absolutely amazing. Cannot recommend it enough.
Oh man.
It's so worth.
Yeah. I think though, in the same way that Jay anticipated his ass beating every time he went against a boss, now we're gonna look into our most anticipated games of next year. Games that haven't came out yet, but games that we are very, very excited for. So while we can't review them, we're excited to see what comes of them.
Mm-hmm.
Props for that transition. That was really funny.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right, Connor,
My
Lead
yeah.
us off.
My most anticipated game of next year is Earthblade. This is a game that is being produced by Exog Games, which are the same people who made Celeste. I really love Celeste. It is like at least I know it's at least top 10. Um, and I am so, like after the masterpiece that Celeste is, I am so excited to see what they do with Earthblade. From like the small teasers and stuff that they've shown off, it already looks really good, and I'm already super invested. It was actually supposed to come out this year, but it got delayed, so I'm really hoping it'll be that one Miyamoto quote that's like, delayed game is, has a potential to be good, but a rushed game is forever get bad. Something like that. I don't know. I'm paraphrasing. Um, But yeah, I'm really excited to see what they cook up. I really hope that this delay means that they're going to be making it as good as they can be. And I'm just excited for that game.
Ah, man, that's great. I love Celeste as well, so I'm very much looking forward as well to Earthblade. But a game I'm looking forward to a little more is a bit more of a basic choice. Like Guy, I played a lot of Pokemon games. I'm guilty of it, all right.
Burn
And
him.
I loved Legends Arceus. I thought it was a great take on the Pokemon series, and I'm hoping we see more of it. And ever since they announced Pokemon Legends EA, I've been very excited for that, especially because Gen 6, I loved it as a kid, but in a lot of places it felt very unfinished, especially with some parts of the story and then parts of like Zygarde as well, which we're kind of seeing later on in like the Gen 7 games where they kind of tried to rectify it a little bit, but they never went back to Gen 6. But now they are. I'm very excited for it, especially because the Legends Arceus format was great. So that's my pick for most anticipated game. I'm really hoping, especially with the time they're taking for this and with the lack of announcements they've done in it, that they're really taking their time to cook on this one and letting it sit in the oven so we can get a fantastic product. Because if I'm gonna be real, modern Pokemon products are kind of iffy on that. They could be great, but with some maybe a couple bugs in there, and by a couple I mean a lot, like a whole anthill.
Oh god, yeah. No, Legends EA genuinely has a chance to just be amazing, and I'm with you on there. I'm really excited for that. But one game that I want to talk about that is really turning out to be like a phenomenal Sony game, and I'm just really excited for this, is Ghost of Yotei. This game was announced not too long ago. It is going to be the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima. It's taking place 300 years in the future, so it's not going to have any like direct ties with any of the characters. But Ghost of Tsushima, as a game I platinumed this game, it really made me appreciate not only not only the game itself and what it was trying to do, but like what the PlayStation era was, the PlayStation 4 era specifically. With how that era really like evolved what graphics could be, and Ghost of Tsushima really did evolve like what the PlayStation 4 could do, and it stretched that console to its fucking limits. Holy shit, that game looks phenomenal, and it's really fun to play. And I feel like in a lot of areas that game was held back for truly being one of the greatest games of all time, unfortunately. But I feel like with Ghost of Yotei being a PS5 exclusive, first and foremost, I feel like it has the potential to go above and beyond being what the developers were imagining Ghost of Tsushima could be. I'm really glad that Sucker Punch as a studio is coming back and making great games, and I'm just really excited to see where they take Ghost of Yotei.
I am also very excited for that game, even though I haven't played Ghost of Yotei. But the game I'm most excited for is Expedition 33. It's made by a small French team, but it looks stunning. It has some of the most stunning visuals I have ever seen in a game, just from the trailers alone. And the gameplay is like Mario and Luigi, where it's turn-based, but every single move has some sort of event you have to work in order to like make it better. So if the enemy attacks, you have to time a button or mash or something like that to either block, take off some damage, or dodge. And then whenever you do moves, you can link moves between your teammates, and it all looks really solid gameplay, really pretty, and looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun and either like a goated game or an awful game.
Let's hope the former.
Yes.
Yeah, hopefully. And for me, my pick, all of us, I'm pretty sure, got to play it recently because I had an open beta. But Monster Hunter Wilds is my most anticipated game for 2025.
I'm coming.
Oh, yes. I think every single one of us here has high expectations for this game. It's probably going to be one of our favorites because all of us here, we've played Monster Hunter. We're all played World, played
Our
Rise.
2025 game of the year is going to be very boring because every category is probably just going to be filled with fucking Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
I hope
Oh,
so.
100%. Just with the little bit of the beta we got, we can already tell that the game is just going to eat up a lot of the awards.
You guys thought you were a broken record this year? You're not ready for next year.
Oh, next
Yeah.
year it's gonna be nothing but
Yeah,
Monster
best
Hunter.
gameplay, Monster Hunter. Best music, Monster Hunter. Game of the year, Monster Hunter. Best Monster Hunter, GTA 5.
It's gonna be between Monster Hunter and GTA 6.
Not even GTA 6, no, GTA 5. Just modded GTA 5.
You're not wrong.
Oh. No, but yeah, no. I think all of us are excited for Monster Hunter Wilds. Like you said, Jay, the beta, we got to play it a little bit. This game shows extreme promise, and they haven't even showed us everything. We are in for a treat this coming February.
Oh, Capcom doesn't miss.
God, I can't wait. But going into the most anticipated, I think it's time, guys. Do you know what time it is?
Adventure time. Oh, wait, wrong joke.
Yeah. It is time for our personal game of the years.
This is probably the most prestigious award any of us as members of Fetch Quest will be giving out this year. While all the games we nominated this year deserve their praises, this is the game that we're wanting to give our highest award to. Which, by the way, if any of the developers of these games are listening, if we gave your game an award, I will personally make you an award and send it to you.
That is very true.
Yeah.
Give you free head. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No,
I'm kidding.
no,
That's
no.
Whoa,
That's for content.
wow. For content.
We're not those type of YouTubers, all right? Yeah, again, our Game of the Year award is, we try to keep it very prestigious. We try to nominate the games that we personally love, and also we felt that just objectively were fantastic in every way possible. That or they strived in one area so fantastically that we feel like we have to nominate it for a Game of the Year award.
Of course. Connor, lead us away, bud.
All right. So for 2024, I am giving my personal game of the year is going to be Shadow Generations. I think it's very safe to say that I am the resident Sonic fan of the
Yes.
group here. And
Really?
yeah, I know the guy who has had his profile picture a Shadow for the past like 4 months.
Reeves?
It's insane to think about. Um, but yes, I am a very big Sonic fan, and oh my god, I'm so glad that this game was as good as it was. It after Forces and after Frontiers and then that little dry spell, a lot of people were worried that Sonic might be out of the game, but Frontiers and this has really helped with getting that positive sort of like reception, positive idea
Positive
of Sonic.
momentum, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I really hope they ride the momentum because this game is probably not only my new favorite Sonic game, but probably the best like Sonic game, like just period. Everything works. Gameplay is smooth, and I do want to preface, I am mainly talking about the Shadow stuff here since that's what's new. So I just want to get that out before I get too deep.
It's a new campaign.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
kind of like we mentioned with Elden Ring's DLC. Hey, I'm sorry to cut it in on this, Connor, but
no, you're fine.
Elden Ring's DLC, you have to play the whole other game to play it in first place. But this one, you can just play Shadow DLC, similar to Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury. A lot of people love Bowser's Fury as just a game alone and didn't even play 3D World.
Yeah, no, you are able to start Shadow's campaign from the beginning.
It's a new campaign with an added old remaster.
And personally, I'm really glad because I had always wanted to play Generations. It's just that, I just never really had a way to play it because it's a PS. I think I don't want to say PS3, but it might be PS3. It's a pretty old game for Sonic standards, but I am so glad they decided to do this because the Shadow campaign is probably the best Sonic piece of media we've had in like a while, probably since Mania. Um, the gameplay is some of the best 3D Sonic has ever been, and I would hazard to say the best 3D Sonic has been. The gameplay feels so smooth and receptive, like any and the level. Oh my god, the level design is the best, and I am saying that fully heartedly, is the best like 3D design we've gotten for Sonic ever. A special like one that sticks out is that in Shadow Generation, Shadow has a mechanic where if you collect enough like energy, you can use chaos control and freeze time. In Sunset Heights, the Sonic Forces level, there's this stretch where a robot is throwing rocks at you and you have to dodge. But if you use chaos control at a specific part where the rocks are being thrown, you can then homing attack up the rocks and take an alternate route and shortcut a huge part of the level. And that was one of the sickest things I've seen out of Sonic in a while. And that is like in almost every level. Like I remember playing this game and finding like so many little shortcuts and like stuff you could do with either chaos control or just exploring the level, and I was like, "Oh my god, they cooked so hard." The story is like really good too. As I said before, it's a really good like deconstruction of Shadow's character, and it's a Sonic game that like takes itself seriously, sort of like the old 2000s game, like adventure. And like when I say stuff like that, like Sonic games that take itself seriously, you kind of get bad flashbacks to stuff like Sonic 06, which tried to take itself seriously, or Shadow the Hedgehog. But it takes itself seriously in a way that like is mature, and it's also just executed really well. Like it has a really good story, a really touching story between Shadow and Maria, and just overall, I think it's a great game. A great story. The voice acting for Shadow is on point. He sounds amazing. I love his new voice. His like current voice actor. And Sega was like, I'm really glad that this game did well because Sega promoted the hell out of it. I mean, they're doing an entire like year of Shadow thing. We've got Shadow movie, like Sonic the Hedgehog 3, which is basically just going to be a Shadow movie, which is coming out soon. Um, we're having a we had a entire like animated like almost anime of to like promote this game. Like it, I am so glad this did well because like this
The Dark Beginnings.
yeah, Dark Beginnings. I'm so glad that this did well because this feels like it could be like it could serve as like what Sonic Generations did in the past, where but they could actually capitalize it off at this time, because what Sonic Generations did is that it, just like this game, it gave a sort of like newfound momentum back after we had gotten stuff like Secret Rings and Black Knight, where people were just like tired of like these super over the top serious games, and then Sonic Generations came along and gave us a great game. And but then they came out with Sonic Boom, so they really dropped the ball. Um, but I hope that's what this game does, except they capitalize off of it, where this acts as the start of a renaissance for Sonic, where we start getting really good Sonic games again, where we get where stuff like Generations doesn't become like a good surprise,
Rarely.
but it becomes the norm. Yeah, but like I've been ranting a lot, but this game is just really great. I love almost every single part of it. There are a few problems I have, but they're not really worth mentioning. And honestly, just really play it. You get to play Sonic Generations, and you get to play this new, incredibly well done expansion with Shadow. And I think it's a full package. It's not even like the typical $67. It's $50. So I think it's really worth that price.
Oh, right now you can find it for like 30, 20.
Oh yeah, especially. But yeah, but that is my game of the year. And I really, really hope Sega capitalizes off the great like reception this game has gotten, and they make good Sonic games again.
Yeah.
Let's hope they will, man. Let's hope they will.
Yeah.
Talking about making some great games again, I want to nominate a very niche pick, a game that's from a series that hasn't gotten a new game in decades. It's a game that you guys have probably only heard about an hour ago when I mentioned it for Best Story. My nomination for Fetch Quest 2024 Game of the Year is Emio the Smiling Man Famicom Detective Club. It's the game that piqued the interest of the internet with its creepy ARG-like trailer, only to surprise many by revealing that, it was a new entry in the Famicom Detective series. A series that didn't have any new entries for decades, only remakes of the first two games on Switch. And while many lost interest in the game after its full reveal, I am stating now that they lost out on an absolutely fantastic title. It may not have been the Silent Hill people were expecting it to be, but it was a fantastically written visual novel. In the game, you follow the Utagi Detective Agency trying to solve the mystery of Emio the Smiling Man, kind of an urban legend in the area. But
That's
that
the
actually
name of the
happened.
game. That's the name of the thing.
I know it's the name of the game. It's amazing. But yeah, you're looking into a series of maybe not so happy smiling murders that involve a strange man that wears a paper bag with a smile on it that usually approaches crying youth and usually strangles them to death and then places a smiling paper bag on their head afterwards. There's a little more to the urban legend than that, but I would recommend you play the game yourself to find out because it is a decently long visual novel. But to solve the mystery, you got to play the role of a detective, talking to witnesses, investigating the crime scene, and piecing together any clues that could give you a lead. And part of the reason I'm nominating the game is, well, one, I fucking love visual novels. I am shameless. But also of just how its writing just surprised me. Not by like any crazy twist that like I found in games like Ace Attorney, Somnium Files, or maybe you'd find in like, I don't know, Danganronpa games.
Don't mention that here.
Yeah, well, they do a lot of crazy twists, so I do have to mention it. Shout out to Liam, I guess. But part of the reason I'm nominating this game...
You don't need to show me out. I know that they are objectively not the
Liam
best.
knows what he is. Yeah, but I want to nominate this game for just... It's more down-to-earth writing, is the best way I can put it. The game deals with very serious themes of self-harm, abuse, and just childhood trauma and how it affects people growing up, but also how it affects a lot of adolescents in general, just even mature. Like many other great visual novels, it has a fantastic cast of characters that really got me immersed in the story. Characters that I got attached to for the struggles and trauma they face through their lives. There's just a lot of scenarios that I feel like people can really relate to, of just maybe losing a loved one that, you know, it was very early for them, which is something that happened to me earlier this year. And just, you know, characters that felt real with their ambitions and flaws. So many of the characters in the game, like, they may not immediately reveal vital information for the case, because maybe just fears they have to face on a day-to-day basis from some trauma. That, or just basic human flaws as well that any of us could fall privy to, like not giving information on the suspect of the case because maybe you're very close with them, so you just don't want to believe that they could possibly be this person that you don't think they are. But, you know, as a detective, you have to always look forward to the truth, and because, you know, with your opinions, you can blur your vision on the case, but you got to keep looking forward, even if it's painful, to eventually find some happiness. And you also see a lot of these characters just learn to deal with their trauma and grow as people. It was really heart-touching seeing these characters learn to pick themselves back up and get up after facing some of these horrible situations. And I think Emio's strength is just, again, in its grounded writing that grabs you into its world to truly live its characters and get you invested in the mystery. Once you get to the end and all the pieces fall into place, it amazed me with how well all the pieces were carefully laid out to me. Now, I will say part of its end did feel a tad rushed, but besides that, I don't have many complaints with the story, which, again, it's a visual novel. That is 95% of the game, so they did a very good job on that end.
How's the gameplay, Brewer? How was pressing
I love pressing the A button.
I love pressing the A button.
Well, I do want to mention, in these investigation parts, and I will mention again, this is a Nintendo game. You can click around to investigate different parts of the scene that are like, if a person you're talking to has something on them, then you can point it out as well. Like a guy has like snot dripping out his nose, you'd be like, hey, you should get a tissue or something. Yeah, but this game is rated M, and Nintendo was proud to show that. But also, one thing I wasn't expecting is you can also like, I don't even know if I can mention this in the episode, but I'm just saying fuck it and go ahead. This is a Nintendo game. There is a police officer with big breasts, and if you look down and click on it, she's like, "Why the hell are you staring?" So there's your gameplay, Connor.
Dude, that sounds awesome.
It is.
I knew a guy was gonna say
Nintendo
that.
was
Oh my god,
cooking.
you're so predictable.
Yeah, apparently it's a running joke in the series too. So
That's
yeah, happy Nintendo game. But yeah, going back to the more serious parts of it, especially the epilogue chapter, showing why the game got its M rating, because holy shit, that got really dark. It really just did blow me away with its tragic tale. So all I'm gonna say is just please play this game if you have a chance. It's a game that didn't get many copies because when I pre-ordered it from GameStop, there was only 3 copies, and I was one of the people picking up one of those copies. So Nintendo did not put a lot of faith into it, but they did at least support it. But the developer has said they want to make more games like it. So if you just want a really nice, grounded story with some characters that you maybe relate to, that and just feel like real people as well with real struggles, I would highly, highly recommend that game. It is a fantastic experience. It doesn't take too long as well if you're just wanting a bit of a shorter game to beat. And it genuinely, too, again, it's the only game Nintendo has ever made that's rated M. They've published games that are rated M, like Perfect Dark, but this is the first in-house Nintendo game in their long history that's rated M. So maybe try out one of Nintendo's more experimental titles with Emio the Smiling Man as my Game of the Year Fetch Quest nominee.
Hey, I guess it's my turn.
Oh my god, it is!
oh my god, it's almost as if we had this exact same order the whole video.
It's time to sound like broken
Wow.
records again.
Okay. The broken record. The the fucking broken record shit, dude. It ain't going away.
We ain't beating allegations.
We ain't beating the allegations, man. We broken records. Let me talk about my personal game of the year. I have got to give it to Persona 3 Reload for just not only changing my viewpoint on life, but just making me appreciate everything I do in my daily life. Which is crazy because this is a game about, being a high schooler and taking tests and then going dungeon crawling in the night. Ooh, yay, fun! Let me talk about it, though. As mentioned before, Persona 3 Reload is a remake of Persona 3. Came out on PS2. Oh my god, this game has no definitive edition. It has a very, very bad problem of having multiple versions of itself, but each one of those versions having different amounts of content for you to experience. So for the longest time, the game has just not had a very well-defined definitive edition. Hell, that still remains till today. You could play as
Shout
like
out
a
to
female
Femc.
character. Yeah, Femc. Like, you could play as a female character in Persona 3 Portable, but you can't in Reload. It's still debated whether or not what is the definitive edition. But if people were to ask me what game should I play if I'm going to play Persona 3, play Reload. This is a game that not only has revamped what Persona 3 was, they made the combat fucking good. Like, you couldn't control your party members in the original version of Persona 3. It was AI. Like, you could set the AI to, like, do certain things, but, like, you could not directly control them, which fucking blows. But let me give you the concept. Persona 3 Reload sees you as a high school student being transferred into a dorm where you were working with an organization called Cease. They disguise themselves as a club at a school, but secretly they are an organization funded by the school to go and venture through the Dark Hour in Tartarus. the Dark Hour is the secret 25th hour, um, and it happens right at midnight. Usually during the Dark Hour, people don't even notice that it exists. They turn into coffins and stand still for that 1 hour that it happens. However, there are some people who don't turn into these coffins and live through the Dark Hour, and these people are able to wield something called a persona, which is an embodiment of themselves and their fighting spirit and their will to keep going. And so you, as the protagonist, of course, are able to wield a persona. And it's about you and the other members of Cease going through Tartarus to find out what has caused the Dark Hour and try to see if you can stop it. Because people, when they are exposed to the Dark Hour, are exposed to something called shadows, which are like they're like the repented, how do I put this? They're the not so good parts of humanity in pretty much, and they are killing people who are exiting their coffins, not on purpose. So the point is, they're trying to stop the Dark Hour from continuing because, I mean, if the Dark Hour keeps going, then humanity is just going to end. So you go and live out as a high school student, trying to explore Tartarus, and what begins as like a simple adventure, like trying to stop the Dark Hour and living your life as a student, becomes one of the most emotional, most gripping tales I've ever seen about people trying to cope with death, not only like in their lives, but also the thought of dying soon. Like I talked about it earlier in our story on like best story nominations, but this game really made me think like, what is life? What does it mean to us? What does it mean to be human? And does it define us as who we are as people? All the characters in this game are so incredibly well written, and I can't think of a single bad written character. Every single moment in this game has a purpose, whether it's to help give more characterization or help build up a certain plot point. Everything just feels so well thought out, and the game itself is so intriguing with how you yourself have to, how do I put this? Every action that you make with its calendar system. So like you have to manage time between exploring Tartarus and increasing your stats in the real world. And the stuff in the real world affects how you play in Tartarus. And you have to do the stuff in Tartarus to help you become more powerful, so that you can do more of the social life stuff. It's half a dungeon crawler and the other half a social sim. You have to utilize both aspects to optimize the game experience. And I love the way it does it, whether it's through going through social links, which are stories, they're optional stories where these characters usually go on a character arc that deals with one of the main motifs of a game. Just to bring up some of them, one of them is probably my favorite one in the game, Akinara. He's the dying student or dying young man. He is like early 20s and he has a terminal disease that is just incurable. He's trying to find the meaning of his life and he can't seem to find it, but what he does is he writes a children's novel as a way to cope with the fact that he is dying, but also as a way to make something from his life affect others, since he won't be of this world for long. Or Igus, one of the main characters, she's a robot, and she's trying to cope with the idea of what it means to be human, and is she human? You have characters such as Yukari, who's orphaned very early on, and she has no one to go to. She finds a family with you and the other party members, and you have like people like Mitsuru, who is a sheltered rich girl who is trying to do her best to be normal, but obviously she's a leader of a group that is in charge of trying to save the world, and she tries to be normal through that. You have such good characters, and there's many a reason as to why I wanted to talk about this game. Persona 5 Royal, hell, it's my favorite game of all time, so of course I was going to gravitate towards this game more compared to other games. But just because it has that persona in its title doesn't mean I think that doesn't mean like I'm going to glaze it for no reason. It genuinely stands on its own as a phenomenal game and RPG that I hate just hasn't gotten the recognition it deserves, especially at the Game Awards, which is why I bring up now. But with that being said, y'all, please play Persona 3 Reload. It's on Game Pass. It's cheap nowadays. It's a $70 game, but Black Friday deals, ooh, it's a phenomenal video game, and it's a top 10 game for me for sure. Please play it. It redefined what life is for me.
Wow, that was a very cool talk about Persona. Goated franchise. But
True!
a new franchise that is on the rise and should be a franchise is Astrobot, my game of the year. Now, we already did a full hour-long video on how goated Astrobot is, so I'm gonna save a lot of what would have said for that because that video is amazing in itself, and I'm just gonna talk about some of my personal favorite parts about the game, which is I absolutely loved the hub world. The hub world in that game was beautiful. You got to go see all your favorite little PlayStation reps. You got to see Leon Kennedy. You got to see Joker Persona. You got to see Aegis Persona 3. You got to see Ryu Ken. All these characters, and they would all interact and have these really cool little nods to their games, and it was such a love letter to gaming that I think games just don't have in them anymore. Like, Smash Bros. Is a love letter to gaming, and this is a love letter to gaming too, but it also stands on its own where you don't need all of these little things to make it a good game, because on its own it is a great platformer that takes risks, and those risks always work out. There is not a single power up in that game that is boring. Like, you can be tiny, you can get a little penguin backpack, you can get a little dog backpack, you can become a sponge who soaks up water and gets big, and that's an entire point of a level, and it's so cool, and it interacts with so much stuff because Astrobot himself, he's got 3 moves. He can run, he can jump and hover with little light boots, and he can punch, and if he holds the punch he goes spin, and that's it. But then they keep adding upon what those moves can do and interact with the environment, and that's what makes it such a interesting and amazing game. It's short, but it is so sweet, and you will play that game and there will be a smile on your face for the entire time. And I can't wait to play more of it because all the speed run levels that have come out, I get to enjoy more of the game, and I wish more people would take the chance to enjoy the game, because although it's short, only 15 hours, it is well worth the money, and it's probably going to go on sale, but it is well worth the amount of money because it is just that good. There is not a single problem I have with that game. Some people say the length's a problem. Well, they're stupid. That's my rant.
True!
That's my rant. I'm keeping it short because, like I said, we have a really great video on it, and I'm also tired. But that's Astrobot. That's my game of the year, baby.
Woo!
Astrobot sweep!
All right. So I guess that leaves me, and I bet you guys couldn't guess it. The game I've talked about the most this video, Space Marines 2, my personal Gotti.
Really? Oh my god, I would have
I
never.
know. I'm going for that 6. I'm going for that 6 of a kind. But so I didn't really get into depth earlier about it, but Space Marines 2 is a second entry to Space Marines made by Saber Interactive. You're following Titus, which is a Ultramarine. I'm not going to get into the 40k lore because that's a whole thing. We're not like that. We're not that type of channel. But you're an Ultramarine who is basically serving penance in this thing called the Death Watch. And on a mission for the Death Watch, you're trying to combat this invasion from the main enemy type in the game called the Tyranids, which is like this world threat hive mind that can devour planets, and it's a wild thing. But so during that mission you get injured and you get surgery, come back, and then you get placed back with the Ultramarines But due to your past in the first game for being accused of being a heretic, your squad mates are skeptical of you, and that's kind of the whole thing with your squad as you're going through these missions. And these missions are one of the best parts about the game that I loved, because throughout the missions, it's teaching you how to play. It's introducing new mechanics. The game is a third-person shooter, but also has a melee combat features with parrying and dodging and all this fun stuff. So through the story, it's kind of preparing you for the operations, like I talked about earlier, because you have to work your way through the difficulties on the different operations and the different levels. It goes all the way up to lethal difficulty. There's 5 different levels of difficulty, and you have to beat each one before you can progress each difficulty. So throughout the story, it's kind of preparing you and showing you what these different classes are going to entail that I talked about earlier. And that's one of the main things I loved about it. Because for one example, in one mission section that I think everyone absolutely loved, you get a jump pack. And it pretty much explains itself. You get a jetpack. And another thing it also gives you is this massive hammer. So you just fly in the air and you're just ground pounding the Tyranids as you're traversing this level. And the level makes you use the jump pack and all of its different features to get around the level and progress, and just the combat with it was so fluid and fun. It was easily one of the most fun levels in the entire game. And each and every one of these levels, it's only like a 10-hour long game, but each level that you play through, I swear it felt like it was like 40 minutes long. They were so long, but so much fun as you're playing through them. And if I'm being honest, it was a little tedious for my taste, but there was very little downtime through it. Going balls to the wall, you're this badass Ultramarine, going through murdering Tyranids. And eventually, you come across pretty much these traitor Space Marines that you just know as heretics. Another thing that we're not going to get into, not a 40K channel. So, and then they become the new antagonist, or the main bad guy for the rest of the missions. And as you go through, and I feel like one of my favorite things about them was an enemy type called the Hellbrute. I think everyone has seen the clip where you just see this massive mech just stuff its minigun in its face and just lay into it. It was one of the most badass scenes. It's pure testosterone whenever you're playing this game. And also, for people who love PvP, it also has that, known as Internal War. Doesn't have a competitive anything like that, but I played a little bit of the PvP, and it's pretty fun for the most part. I haven't been huge on PvP games lately, but it's been pretty fun. So, but I cannot recommend Space Marines 2 enough if you're looking for just a fun hack and slash shooter with amazing story and cinematics and art style, and just kind of has the whole package. I don't have a lot of gripes about the game, but that is my personal Gotti nominee.
Alrighty. With all our regular awards done, I think I also want to mention, this is some pretty heartfelt from the whole crew. I think we want to give one final award to you, viewer, to everybody watching, everybody who liked, commented, and subscribed this year. We just want to give you a serious bottom of our hearts thank you for all the support you've given our channel, especially since we reached 100 subscribers this year. We didn't have any special video for it because our schedules have been a little hectic this year, but at least for our Game of the Year episode, we seriously want to thank you guys. Thank you for all the support you've given us so we can get to 100 subscribers. We didn't think we would actually get 100 without just be like 20 people maybe if we were lucky. So even just 100 subscribers, thank you so much for watching our videos and even paying attention to us.
Yeah.
No, seriously, like guys, y'all have no idea how much y'all support means to us. Like we try to like give our thoughts out here. We wanted to make this podcast because we love talking about video games so much, and I'm just glad we got to do another year of it. Damn, we got to over 100 subscribbles this year, and I'm so happy. I'm so satisfied with everything we do, and I appreciate not only the audience, but I appreciate all of you guys in here for like putting in effort to making sure that like this is the best it can be. And I'm so glad I get to do it with you guys. Seriously, it's something that I wouldn't wish to do this with any other people. And I mean that.
Oh yeah, same here, man.
Same here.
Yeah,
Was
it's been one hell of a
good.
year, and we've covered so many games. Oh my god.
And we'll cover so many games. And this game, and you know what? Right here, I'm gonna make a solemn vow. I'm gonna finish Tears of the Kingdom next year.
Sure.
Sure. And pigs will fly.
Yeah.
Connor's gonna stop loving Shadow the Hedgehog.
Yeah. That's
Guy will drop Street Fighter 6.
Guy will like Gravity Rush.
I'm gonna hate Xenoblade.
Yeah. Oh no, no. Guy will like Xenoblade 2 if that happens.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
But
Lord.
yeah, no. Thank you all for like just giving our channel a watch and subscribing, and we hope the best for
Yeah,
you.
it means a lot to us, especially on our YouTube app when we see the little green numbers go up. Seeing a lot of people even paying attention to our videos, it does mean a lot to us. Especially for, while we aren't the most dedicated channel, we do try our best with these videos. Especially our Game of the Year episode this year, that, and even just like our thumbnails to titles, just making sure everything is as perfect as it can be with the limited resources we have.
Yeah, exactly, man.
But I think this video's gone on long enough. What did you guys say?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Please, if you like this kind of content, drop a like and a comment and tell us what your favorite game of this year was. Even subscribe. We like seeing that little number go up. It helps us out in the long run.
Maybe comment on not just this video, but what you guys thought of us this year. Maybe some stuff we could improve on. If there's a personal video you enjoyed. And maybe too, if you enjoyed this video as well, please leave a like. It means the world to us.
But with that, we have been Fetch Quest. Goodbye.
And this has been our 2020-24 Fetch Quest Game of the Year Awards. We'll see you guys next year to nominate some more fantastic games.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Thank y'all so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye everybody.
Bye,
Thank
y'all.
you.